Okay.
Hello, hello.
Okay. It's another Graciela Julietta episode. Buckle up.
Buckle up is right.
So, today, for the first time in a long time, I'm having coffee. Now, in fairness, it is the afternoon when we're recording this. I did have my cacao this morning, but I just felt like I needed a little cup of warm something. And Lavazza's been calling to me. I miss you, sweetheart. I mean, cacao's my new love, but So anyway, I'm just paying a little visit to Lavazza land.
Like, yes, cacao is my normal morning thing now. And every once in a while, I do still want a cup of coffee, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I actually, after Friday's event Saturday, I didn't have any cacao on Saturday. Like, I literally, it was the first time, but I felt like I needed a vacation day from cacao. Cuz for our listeners out there that don't know, you know, there was my clients would say to me, like, I miss you, I want to come see you, but I don't have any, I don't have any pain or anything that I need to come to you for. And so I created this coffee or tea, like, if you really want to see me, like, come by, we'll just hang out, I'll make you a cup of coffee or tea, and we'll just sit and chat for a little while. Like, that's what, like, we can do that. And so, but now I offer coffee, tea, or cacao. And what's interesting was last week, twice I had people come in and they wanted cacao. So I had already had my morning cacao, and then I had my one-to-one meeting cacao. And then Friday I had cacao in the morning, and then we had our cacao ceremony in the evening, which was a heavier dose of cacao. And Saturday I woke up and I'm like, cacao, I love you. And this morning I want coffee instead.
And I think that's the beauty of cacao is like she understands. Do you know what I mean? Like she's like, we worked hard last night. Take a break. It's okay. It doesn't have to be anything. And that I think is the beauty of all of this is that nothing has to be a certain way. Um,
Yes.
I just did this sound ceremony course. Some people call it sound bath and some people call it sound healing. Um, but at the end of the day, it was a 3-day training, and they taught like about gongs and bowls. And I hope to get my teachers on as podcast guests because I really enjoyed like their energy and just everything about them. But you know, the biggest, like, I thought I might be going into a music class, like, this is how you play this. And really, at the end of the day, it's more about intuition. So there was a tiny little bit of music theory, so to speak, but more than anything, it was follow your gut, follow your intuition. What does the room feel like? What do you feel like? And I love doing all of these things that make me be completely present. Sometimes I'm so ADD that, even I'm even interrupting my own thoughts to move forward to the next thought, like that's me. But when you're in that type of situation, you really have to be totally present. And so, funny story. So at the end, towards the end, they're like, okay, now you've heard everything. We're going to let you get some hands-on experience, right? So, we each took a turn being the practitioner. And so I had a gentleman I was paired up with. Bless his heart. I went first. I laid down first, and he worked on me. And I think he's a certified yoga instructor. So he already has this like, and now you will connect with the breath and you will breathe in. And so he's like so magical in the way that he's narrating my experience, right? And like I'm really into it, right? Like I'm just having my whole experience. And of course he brings me out of it and he does all the bowls and just he gave me a beautiful experience. We learned what was too much or too hard or too soft or whatever. Anyway, when it was my turn, I totally like just got in my head and I was like, this guy was so magical. Now I feel not good enough, right? So I'm like, let me use less words, which if you know me, that's hysterical. So I said, let me use less words and more sound. Okay, fine. So we did a little like how we do in chakra balancing class, where we check to see if your chakras are aligned or not, whatnot, balanced. And I see that like, okay, his throat chakra is a little bit off, which by the way, I did not know. And now I feel silly. And maybe it's a matter of preference, but this past weekend I was taught that it is a hard ch sound, not a soft sh sound. So it shouldn't be chakra, it should be chakra, like that. Yeah, which I thought was really interesting because I hadn't really heard that like that before. So chakra balancing class, which I like. It has a flair. But anyway,
If you listen to my prior meditation recording, I was very clear on the chakra.
were you? I missed
But
that.
and then there's this whole thing around it, like, you know, people being snooty about it. If you said chakra, you said it wrong, and like you're spiritually inferior if you don't say chakra.
Yeah, I don't
Anyway.
surround myself with people like that. But anyway, long story short, his throat needed to be worked on. And so I was like, oh, okay, perfect. I'll put the throat bowl next to his throat and I'll do it there. And then of course I wasn't really thinking that what I was doing was like blowing out his fucking eardrums because it's so close to your ear. And I'm making this bowl sing, which sounds beautiful to me because I'm standing over him. But I was anyway. So afterwards, you know, when we were doing our little integration and he was like, oh, we learned some things, like to his credit, he did not hand me up. But when it was my turn, I was like, yeah. And I totally apologized to Diego. I blew his eardrum out, I'm pretty sure. But his throat is aligned as fuck right now. It is so soft. So anyway, I appreciated the opportunity to try different things and figure out what feels good and what feels better. And I'm really, really excited about playing with some of these instruments.
Yeah, I'm going to a sound bath tonight, and one of the reasons I'm like, we just had sound bath Friday night, and I'm going to another one on Monday night. But part of the reason that I go to this one is the gentleman who leads it plays the didgeridoo, and I have an absolute love affair with the didgeridoo. And so what I would always say, like, to people when I was explaining them like what the didgeridoo did for me, like when you hear a musician that's really good at what they do, like, to me, the way I describe it is like you feel their soul coming through the instrument. But when someone plays the didgeridoo, to me, it sounds like the soul of Mother Earth is coming through the instrument. Like, it just feels so profound to me. And so I was once explaining this to Stephen Farmer, who is semi-famous. He was with Hay House. He's a psychologist, but his specialty is, shamanic and earth medicine, those kind of realms. And so I was talking to him about, because he brought his didgeridoo and he played his didgeridoo for us. And I was telling him like what my obsession with the didge was. And he's like, well, that's interesting because in Aborigine culture, like the earth was created from the sound of the didgeridoo.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, like the didgeridoo is the sound of creation.
That makes sense.
Yes. And so to me, that sound, there is no sound more soothing. Like if I could listen to didgeridoo 24/7, I probably would. Might I reach a limit at some point? Maybe, I don't know. We're talking about like, what do you want? What do you like? Here I am creating my perfect world. I'm eating didgeridoo. Or I'm not eating. I'm listening to didgeridoo and eating ice cream.
Uh,
Like, yeah, I'm sure there's other things that I'm going to layer on there, but like, so as I'm creating what I want, those are two things that I'm putting in the space: didgeridoo and ice cream.
yeah, didgeridoo is definitely one of those instruments that just like rattles in your chest. Like it's just so deep, right? You can't help but feel it. And so unique here. Like not everybody plays that. There's not a lot of practitioners.
It's
Um,
hard to play. Like I said, I have one, and I still, like once in a blue moon, I'm able to create that sound. Most of the time, it just sounds like a dying animal when I'm playing it.
well, and maybe you're not meant to play it. Maybe you're just meant to receive it, like
And
there's like
that's
yeah, I love like voice. I love singing. I cannot carry a tune to save my life. Like like not even close. As a matter of fact, if my sister's listening, she's probably rolling her eyes and shaking her head right now because she's like, don't do that in front of people ever. But I love it. Like it's to me, I love how it feels, but I don't think I'm meant to be a performer. So that's okay. That's okay. I have other gifts.
you do. We all have our gifts, um and we're meant to share our gifts. Like that's nothing is sadder than someone having a gift and not sharing it with the world. So
Oh,
my
this is why
message.
we need to create safe spaces. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the day that I can host a sound ceremony with my own instruments and whatnot. And so, anyway, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'll bring my didge and play the dying animals.
Speaking of which, well, let's see. It's March 6th. We will have a two practitioners here, two shamanic practitioners here at the studio, and he is going to bring his didgeridoo.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that very much. Lino and Katya, they themselves are very just magical beings, and they have a very special way of sharing their magic with the world. So if you're free on, we haven't really like put it out there on the calendar and stuff yet, but we're working our way up to that. So I definitely put that on your calendar. Put March 9th is our next How to Cacao, 7:30 a.m. at the studio. And what I have to say about, you talk about safe space, like that, the How to Cacao, besides that we're there like teaching everything cacao, but it is like, it reminds me a little bit of, growing up. The neighbor would come over, like the neighbor women would be sitting around the kitchen table drinking coffee, not cacao, but like that was the safe space for the women to come together and solve all the problems of the world. And so a little bit our 7:30 a.m. cacao events feel like that, the women coming together to create a healing space for each other, but it's a safe space to be and explore and create special community.
Yeah,
So
I think for me, like we would do this every day if it weren't for how we've structured our lives with all the driving, right? Because probably what made it easy to gather in the mornings like that is everybody's in the same place at the same time, right? Like if you lived right next door to me, how easy would it be to share a cacao with you for 20 minutes each morning and to start your day with like the support of a friend, right? Because your own life can be hectic or crazy or whatever, but sometimes you just need a minute, right? And then now the way that we live, like I know my friends are going through it in the mornings, and I wish I could be there to help them get their kids off to school, especially now that my kids are so much older and they could be of a help, but we're all far from each other. So now getting together takes this conscious effort of carving out the time and getting in the car. And I understand that that's how our current life has been created, and it would be really hard to undo that. But our bodies are still from 500 years ago, from 1,000 years ago, like our brains, our bodies are still old. They don't understand why we're not in community. And so what happens is mental illness and loneliness and feeling frustrated and wanting to, yell at your kid. And then you feel guilty because you yelled at your kid, and just blah, 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 blah. Like we just keep creating messes for ourselves. And I'm telling you, like we've talked about this a bunch of times, 99% of our quote unquote problems would be resolved if we would just hang out. Like if we would just be together in the same space. One of my dreams for the studio has always been to create, like, I don't know, Mondays or Wednesdays or something like that, where the studio is simply open, not crazy busy like a coffee shop. You don't have to buy anything or do anything. It's just a place where you can just come and sit down. Kind of what you're describing, like mom's kitchen table, like you're swinging by, you need 10 minutes of a reprieve, come in. You want to walk in and have nobody talk to you at all because you've been bombarded by questions all day long, then just come in and sit down. My hesitation in actually creating that is that I have a hard time finding folks that are willing to really give that to themselves, because I think as women, downtime can be seen. We make ourselves believe that it's somehow wrong, that like it's overindulgent. That, I mean, I do the same thing, if I have a free minute, I'm gonna fill it with something, right? So I'm guilty of this too. Like I'm asking for help to work on this together.
Yeah. And a lot of this comes down to, like, the feminine energy is more the be energy. The masculine energy is the do energy. And so when we as women who, and I said this over and over and over again, we all have both the masculine and the feminine. But as women, our balance tends to be, we should have more feminine energy. But when we're constantly in the do, that doesn't allow us to nurture that feminine energy within us. And I almost want to say, like, we should be obligated to be doing more being instead of always doing. And I think that's with all of the, the events and the retreats and the workshops that we're creating, is like, we're creating a space and we're giving you all permission to do just that, to be and to nurture and to embrace that piece of you that has been ignored and abused for so long. It needs nurturing. It needs to be rebirthed.
Remember we had a guest a while back, Candace, who came up with the slow year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that concept so much, because all the other messages in our world are about doing more and speeding up and going faster and hurry up. And I get it. And sometimes I feel that too. And I do think that we have to take action steps. But I think that the magic is in the quiet. I think the magic is in that minute where you just, I mean, how many times haven't you been talking to a friend, right? You and I have had this experience where you're like, how come this one thing isn't working? And I'm like, well, did you try this? And you're like, oh my God, that's so obvious. Why haven't I tried that? Or myself, where I have developed a certain belief, and you're like, but why would you believe that? And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know. Great point. Guess I won't do that anymore. Like sometimes it just takes a minute, like literally just a minute. And the growth is in that, as me, I love a TikTok. I saw one the other day. I'm going to have to share this. I'll share this in the Circle of Goddesses Facebook group, but it's a girl that says, spirituality isn't all, love and light. It's the darkness, it's going through to come out onto the other side. And so sometimes you got to feel like shit so that you can get to the other side, you know, and you don't even realize that, you know, going through that is what opens your world. You know, that's where the growth is. And so sometimes, like I said, like when you're feeling like, ugh, gosh, I don't think I could take one more thing, that's the point. When you think you're going to be a bother to somebody, that's the perfect time to call somebody and be like, I think I'm being a bother. And then we'll all tell you like, no, you're not, man. You're just living your life like everyone else. You know, you're feeling what I felt 3 days ago, you know, like we're all the same.
We are all the same. With that, I do want to share, I was talking to you about this earlier. If you don't know, there are blogs all over the place on our VOTG podcast.com. We have a blog where we talk about a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the show. And then at bodyandsoulministries.love, there is another blog that is a little bit more focused on healing and those kind of things. But I guess it was like 2 weekends ago. Julietta, the healer who helps everybody with their pain, have been living with some hip pain for I don't even know how long anymore. Like the pain, I don't even remember when it started because it didn't start from an injury. It just started from like one morning I woke up and I'm like, ugh, my hip doesn't feel good. And I ignored it for a little while, which is what I tell everybody not to do. But then it was like, okay, I got to stop taking care of everybody else. I got to take care of me. I would do my stuff to it. It would help, but then it would still be there. I would go see my people. And yes, I have people that I see. Like, I don't only heal myself because that's not like, we all need our people. I would go to my people. I got this hip pain, da-da-da. They would do this and that. It would feel a little better. And the hip kept coming back. And I'm like, I was really over it and really just like frustrated and but also not really talking about it, not really sharing it because I had all of this like inside like not good enough, imposter syndrome. Who am I to heal others if I have pain? And I had this spiritual moment where I realized like it's okay for me to have pain. It's actually okay for me to have pain. Like, it doesn't matter that I'm a healer. Healers have pain too. And as soon as I like released all the judgment around that, all those like horrible feelings I was having towards myself for having this pain, I swear to God, my pain is gone.
Isn't that amazing?
And then, but what else is okay? You know, all these other things in life that we struggle with and that we judge ourselves for. And it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, everything's okay, right? It's just a matter of saying, okay, this thing is happening and I don't want it to happen, so I'm going to change it, right? And that could be your direct experience with your, you know, being a healer who's in pain. That's okay. And it could be, I don't know, something else that you're being. Like we had a guest earlier talking about like drugs and alcohol use and all of these things. And there's so much guilt and shame that comes along with all of that. And it's still okay. Like it's okay to have and be and feel all of these things. And then you just move on. You keep moving. You keep going forward. You keep taking another step. And if you can't take a step, you call and you ask somebody and you ask somebody for help. And, you know, it's just so important to know that you're not alone, that whatever it is that you are is okay, that have the awareness that you might be telling yourself a story, right? So many of my clients walk in with one hang up or another. I don't like my nose. I don't like my hips. I don't like my shoulders. I don't like my hair. I don't like, I mean, everybody walks in with a list. And I never ask. I always ask, what do you love about yourself? Inevitably, that question is answered with all of the things that they don't like about themselves, which is a conditioned response, right? Like we have to, we work on that here. But whatever it is that, it's just a story, right? Every time someone tells me they want to, get a nose job, I'm like, no, don't do it. I'm always like, don't destroy your ancestry. Like that is generations and generations of people coming together and to create your existence. Like it's just a shift, right? It's just a shift in perspective. It's okay. I wish I had read that book. I'm okay, you're okay. I just know the phrase,
Yeah, I don't think I've ever read it either, but it's so much of letting go of the judgment of it, it's being okay with it doesn't mean that it's what you want, but being okay with it means it no longer has power over you.
Totally. Just like I say, everything should be pleasurable. Even if you're going and doing something really challenging, right? Like getting clean or building something or creating a business or anything, even if it's something super challenging, you should still be feeling good about it, And if you're not, let's check yourself, right? And because I also think part of it is like, what happens when you get that desperate feeling of I'm alone, no one understands me, I'm the only one that must feel this way, right? That's those layers of guilt and shame. I promise you 100%, whatever it is that you're thinking, you're not the only one. There's only a limited amount of thoughts in this world. I promise you, you're not the only one. There's a group out there for you.
For sure.
Right? So
for sure.
Anyway, we always delve into these super deep topics.
Well, and you said we talked about like creating fun. So part of my fun is being surrounded by didgeridoo and eating ice cream. So what's your fun, Graciela?
I don't know. I love all things art and music, and we do love you know what I love? I love going to museums, and I love going to museums by myself or with people that are as equally obsessive as I am, because I like stopping at all of the exhibits and actually reading it. And I like diving in deep into each of those things. Like I remember when I was in New York, one of my trips, and I walked into the Met, and the first of all, I was just overwhelmed by the sheer size of it. Number two, when I get to the ticket counter and they tell me that it's actually free to go in, like it's by donation, I like got a lump in my throat, because I was like, oh my God, you want this to be accessible to everyone? This is crazy. How could this be? Right? I'm in New York. Everything's expensive. Right. And then when I walked into one of the rooms, I just started bawling, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's just overwhelming to me, So I think, yeah, I love that. And I love, just being out in nature. I talk a lot about when we vacation, I keep saying we want to try new things, and we always go back to doing the same things. We always end up in a cabin in the woods. We always end up sitting by a fire. We always end up sitting in front of a body of water, in the mountains or something. So yeah, we are getting ready to go on a little trip, and guess where we're going? To a cabin in the woods.
So, beautiful.
Yeah, super excited. But all good. I love all the things. Multiple.
All right. So I think we can call today a wrap, huh?
You think they've heard enough of us?
Well, there's never enough of us, but
oh Lord.
we have to save a little bit for next time.
I do want to invite everyone, though, to please come chat with us. Chat with us in our events, chat with us in our Circles of the Goddess Facebook group. We really did put it there so that we could have these conversations, more just Julietta and I, but with all of you as well. And what's on your mind? You know, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to be on the show? If you want to be on the show, there's a form for that. There's not an app for that, but there's a form for that. You can submit something, and let us know, what is your message. This is very much about community and connection. And, you know, our voices happen to be the ones that are on here, but really we want to hear from everybody. So what else? Oh, and sponsorships. Yes. So we also have sponsorships. So for a show like this, you could get a little commercial to play at various times throughout the broadcast, and we will promote you and help you get your business out there. So that's another option. What am I missing?
No, I think you've covered it. So the form to fill out is on the Voices of the Goddess podcast.com website, votgpodcast.com. There is the request on there to be on the podcast. Just go in and fill that out and we'll get the process rolling. Also, if you would like to be a sponsor, that is in the shop on the Voices of the Goddess. You just go in there and click that you want to be a sponsor, and all of that can be arranged as well. And all of our events are listed on there, like the small events, the retreats, all of that is on our website as well. So head on over, check it out. And you can always reach out to us personally as well. We love to connect, and we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's a wrap. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.
Bye-bye.